We'll start with the Jags. Their over-under is 6.5 wins. It's a little bit of a jump from a year ago. Last I checked, 1,200 odds, plus 1,200 odds to win the division. Not very likely. What has impressed you about their offseason thus far, whether it's the draft, free agency? They had 5 picks in the top 65. What did you think about how they did there? I mean, I remember going into the draft thinking this team's going to be completely transformed after day one. How did you think they did? Other than Trevor Lawrence, obviously. I mean, couldn't have gone wrong with that first pick, right?
Right. So Trevor Lawrence was a given. If I'm talking about the Jags overall, I love what they did. I mean, you look at this team at the beginning of free agency, I guess the beginning of the offseason, it looks and feels to me like a totally different team. They got Shaq Griffin in their defensive backfield to go with C.J. Henderson. They also added a couple safeties. They added what they thought they needed, in the draft. Trevor Lawrence, obviously number 1 overall. It's a no-brainer. They did check the boxes. I mean, I guess they could have used help at corner, although they ended up taking Tyson Campbell, where I felt like they needed more of a slot corner, because I don't see C.J. Henderson or Shaq Griffin playing in the slot, but they ended up with Tyson Campbell. I liked what they did. I just feel like there was it felt like a missed opportunity to me. So like you said, they had 5 picks in the first 65. So essentially the first 2 rounds, they had 5 picks, and they ended up with Lawrence, which was obvious. Travis Etienne was a mistake to me. I don't think you ever take a running back in the first round. Tyson Campbell, who's a bit of a project, Walker Little, who hasn't played in 2 years, and then Andre Cisco, who is coming off of an injury. So I think that you can't look at their draft and say that it was a complete bust, but having 5 picks in the first 60, or having 5 in the first 65, I would have expected them to do a little bit more. I would have wanted, when you have 5 picks in the first 2 rounds, you expect them to come out with, what feels like a new team. They ended up getting Jordan Smith, who's an edge, in the 4th round. They traded up for him, which I wasn't crazy about them trading up. But he's a physical freak. They needed help at tight end. They ended up getting Luke Farrell, who's more of a blocking tight end. They also have Chris Manhertz now, who they just signed, who's a great blocker at tight end. It doesn't seem like the tight end position is going to be receiving a lot of balls, but it looks like they're going to roll with Etienne behind the scenes, who has that chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, obviously. And then, try to get the most out of Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark, and Marvin Jones. So if I were to change anything, I wouldn't have taken Etienne in the first round. I would have used that spot to maybe go after a tackle or a corner. I think Greg Newsome was still on the board. At 25. They could have gotten Greg Newsome instead of taking a project and Campbell. And then in round 2, when they took Campbell, they probably could have, I think they still could have gotten Tevin Jenkins, and that would have solved their offensive tackle problem without having to roll the dice on Walker Little. I know that Urban Meyer is coming from college, and he's going to love those 5-star guys. And you can see that in the draft where he's taking Trevor Lawrence, he's taking Tyson Campbell, he's taking Walker Little. These are all highly recruited guys out of high school, but Walker Little hasn't played in 2 years. I know that physically, he's 6'8", he's 315, he runs a 4.8 40 or something like that. So that's all well and good. Or he ran a 4.8 40. I think at his pro day it was like a little over 5. But that's all well and good. I think he's going to learn soon that the NFL is a little bit different. But we'll see. I mean, I could totally be eating crow here. But just for a team that allowed the most sacks in 2020, or the 4th most sacks in 2020, they could have used an O-line. I just think I would have done a little bit different, but I can't look at the team and say that they're worse than they were before. I still think they've improved more than any other team in definitely in their division, but they've improved more than most other teams. So
Yeah, well, I'm with you. With that many picks that early, I think if you're a Jags fan, you have to be disappointed. As far as holes where they needed to fill, it was everywhere.
right.
I mean, their pass rush hasn't been good. They can't stop the run. They needed corners. Cisco is a good pick. They needed a safety. The one position that you could have felt good about if you're a Jags fan was running back. I mean, Carlos Hyde is a productive back, especially if he's, in some type of a limited role. James Robinson just put up 1,400 scrimmage yards out of nowhere. Was that a pressing need at whatever it was, 25th pick overall, I think?
Right.
That to me was a little shocking, and it's a little. I think it's the worst pick in the draft, period. Just,
wow.
I look at Etienne, and something worries me about him. He's got like 684 carries, I think, in his college career. There's mileage on that guy. It is very possible that in 5 years, he's gone. That's the lifespan of your, average running back is just a few years. 5 years, best case. So
right.
You're telling me he's probably splitting carries with James Robinson, right? Or Carlos Hyde, or, some type of trio backfield. It's just a wasted opportunity. 25th, like you said, Newsome was on there. Jason Owe, who went to the Colts in the division, was there. Christian Barmore, who I know slipped in the second, was there, but he's potentially the best, interior defensive lineman in the draft. You said tackle, Tevin Jenkins, Eichenberg, Cosme, who went to Washington. It was just what is the lifespan of a running back? To go 25th overall, I think was a huge mistake. And if there are any Jags fans out there, I mean, I'd love to hear what you guys think, because this is an outside perspective, and you're probably going to say, I don't know jack about what's going on. I just think with a team that was like top 3 in cap space going into the offseason, you definitely upgraded at quarterback. And with a sick quarterback, you could win. We win some games. It doesn't matter who else is on the team. Sometimes, but all you were really able to get was Marvin Jones, Shaq Griffin from Seattle, who, what I've seen from Seattle secondary over the years has not been very good. You've got to be upset, because I'm upset, because I there's parity in this league where there's teams that can win 3-4 games one year and then go to the playoffs the next. It happens all the time. And I don't think it's going to happen with the Jags. Their over-under is 6.5. And to me, I'm taking the under. And it's because they didn't do enough this offseason. What a huge opportunity they have this offseason to bring in, a bunch of talent and surround that new star quarterback. It's weird too. It's a weird pick too. It's like there's a really college feel to the whole Urban Meyer thing. It's like they brought in, they drafted Etienne to appease him, right? It's like the only thing that makes sense to me.
That's the only thing that I could think, and I was going to say that before too, was that it feels very well. The fact just drafting a running back like that in the first round is kind of like a college-y kind of move, right? Like they want a guy who has burst, even though they have Carlos Hyde and they have Robinson. They're not going to get the kind of, they don't have the kind of giddy up that Etienne has, right? But there's so much more to it than that. I think in college you're able to to find that guy. You're able to recruit some monster running back and then dominate. He'll carry you to 6 or 7 games because he's going to rush for 300 yards a game. and no one's going to be able to keep up. But it's just not like that. And Etienne's not, he's not small, but he's not a huge guy. I mean, he's probably what, like 5'11", a little over 200 pounds, something like that. But he's strong, but it just feels very, it feels very collegey. I was listening to a podcast. I think they were saying that the whole offense feels really collegey, like just the way that they've like created it. They create this interior that's like these huge guys and like blocking tight ends. And then on the outside, they have like these like gadget guys and this like, this like strong, like fast, bursty kind of running back who's always looking for a seam somewhere and trying to bounce it outside, or like won't, he's not going to take 2.5 yards or 1.5 yards and be happy with it and grind through the game plan. Etienne's he's probably going to try and like bounce it outside. So it just, I'm glad that you said that, because it does have like a really kind of collegey feel.
Yeah. And I mean, in that division, I don't see them being able to win 7 games. I just look at the talent that's surrounding Trevor Lawrence, and if Marvin Jones is going to be your number 1 or 2 next to DJ Shark, and we kind of saw what Laviska Shenault has to offer, and not to mention it's kind of a brand new offense. It's a brand new coaching staff going in there. I see them struggling, and I don't see, Cam Robinson, their left tackle. I thought they were going to part ways with him this offseason.
Right.
They end up, I feel like, drafting his replacement. We'll see. I mean, Walker Little is only 22 years old, so he could stick around there for a really long time. But we'll just have to see. And I don't think they did much on defense to address their lack of pass rush. I'm not crazy about the corners they brought in. When I was doing mocks for for everyone in the first like 3 rounds, I was super excited. It was so much fun picking for the Jags, because you just had so many options to go with, like, best defensive lineman, with that 25th pick, or a top 3 pass rusher, or a top corner. I do like the Tyson Campbell pick. But again, Greg Newsome was there, man. Greg Newsome was there.
Yeah, I mean, Campbell's talented for sure, but he's definitely not polished. And I think like we were saying, he's a bit of a project, and I don't even know where he fits in. He's like 6'2". He's not going to play the slot. He's a little small for his position. I think he's like 6'2" with like 185 or something like that. He's a pretty thin guy, and he's great on man press, but in his own scheme, I think he can get lost. He's going to take some coaching. That's a project. It's going to take at least a year for him to come on. CJ Henderson was not very good last year.
Yeah, and he had Eric Stokes on the other side, right? In Georgia.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not very impressed with the Jags. So are you taking
I was not impressed with their Jags either. The good thing for them is they do get to play the Texans twice a year. So that's a blessing.
The Texans. So you're right. Real quick before the Texans, are you also taking the under on the 6.5 wins?
Yes, I'd have them probably I'd probably right at 6. I think Vegas is pretty good at that. But I'd have them right at 6. Even without seeing the over under, I think I'd have them about 6, maybe 5 wins, 5.5, 6.
So they'll top 5 pick again next year.
Top 10.
Top 10 pick.